What's up, y'all? In today's video, I'll be going over how to get commercial auto insurance for Uber Black. With that being said, I'm gonna dive right into the video. Let me move myself real fast. So basically, I made this chart for y'all, basically explaining the commercial coverage versus personal coverage. And this is me explaining it to the T, like the basic level for the ones that don't know. If you know this part about how commercial and personal auto insurance work, you can skip past this part, but this is for the ones that don't know. So I got the coverage types over here. We're going to start with personal insurance. What is personal insurance? Personal insurance is a standard policy for personal or family driving, meaning if you want to go pull out a personal policy and it's just for you, or if you want to add a family member on there, that's mainly what it's for. And then, you know, that policy protects you and whoever you list on that policy, along with the vehicles you have listed on that policy as well. What it works for is everyday use only, and it does not, unfortunately, work for Uber Black. So you cannot pull out a personal insurance policy and try to drive Uber Black. Now I come down here to the second one, rideshare endorsement. What a rideshare endorsement is basically an add-on to a personal policy, and it's only allowed in some states. So basically, you can go pull out a personal policy, and if you want to drive regular Uber like UberX and Lyft, like regular Lyft, you can go to your insurance and say, hey, if it's covered in your state, and say, hey, I want to pull out a rideshare endorsement so I can start driving rideshare. And if it's allowed in your state, you should be good. And it only worked for UberX, Lyft, and some gig platforms like DoorDash, I'm pretty sure, Uber Eats, stuff like that. And unfortunately, it does not work for Uber Black. Now I'm gonna move down to the commercial livery. Basically, what commercial livery is just a full business policy for professional drivers livery use. So basically, if your job is driving people around and you got your own business and you make money from it, you have to pull out a commercial policy. It works for Uber Black, limo, taxi, and professional hire. So basically, like any for hire driving job or driving company, you will need to pull out a commercial policy. And yes, that does work for Uber Black. Next, let me move myself again. Next, we got the common mistakes drivers make, which is using personal policy only. Like, you cannot pull out a personal policy to drive Uber Black. It's not covered. You will not be covered if you try to use a personal policy. Also, uploading documents that don't match the LLC or business name. So whenever it comes to the documents, and I'm going to just tell everybody watching this video, it's best to get into the Uber Black business with an LLC. That's just, you know, that way you protect yourself. But you don't want to mix up personal versus business, which is why I'm telling you to create an LLC and keep everything business related and your business on your business side and everything personal on your personal side. That way you don't mix up documents or anything like that. Because when it comes to these rideshare platforms, they're very strict whenever you try to upload a document and the names don't match up, you know. So make sure you separate the two. Overlooking local regulations, permits, city, state requirements. So how this work, y'all, is basically, or what they basically do is don't reach out to see what all they need before they start trying to apply to be an Uber driver. So trying to get started without calling up their permitting center and saying, hey, do I need a permit to do this type of business? You know, all of this stuff vary per state. You know, I'm not going to provide false information. Whatever city you in, whatever state you in, and you want to do something, I'll use Uber Black as an example. You need to call to see if it's like, if they have like certain things that they require before you get started. So you always want to make sure you do your due diligence and research before you try to start something. That's the best way I can explain it. Don't just try to go get started and you don't know what's required, because you'll eventually hit a bump in the road and it's not going to be pretty. Not shopping around for multiple brokers and providers. This is another big one. And I'll talk to a lot of people about the insurance field, as far as like them saying, hey man, I tried to call this one company, it's super expensive, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, did you call around to other ones? Oh no, I only called them. Well, no. If you're watching this video and you trying to get insurance, call around multiple places. I recommend doing local agencies because the local agencies work with the big brand commercial insurance, or sorry, the big brand insurance companies, and they can provide the same type of insurance. So call around, always call around. Don't just accept one quote from one insurance company. Make sure you, basically, when it comes to shopping around for a quote, never put your eggs in one basket. You want to call multiple places and then go with the best option. Another mistake they made, assuming all coverage is the same across states. No, each coverage vary depending on the city and state. I'll give y'all an example. I live in Houston. I can't go to Dallas and say, hey, I want to, drive Uber Black and just automatically assume that the coverages they got required is the same as Houston. No, the coverage they might be totally different than the coverage here in Houston. So before you even get started or you move into a different city and you want to do this type of work, make sure you call up these places to see what kind of coverage is required in that city or state. Now, when it comes to like the platform specifically, I can take a Uber Black ride from Houston to Dallas and drop them off, but I can't sit there and try to catch a ride because I don't know, not only I don't know their coverage, but also I'm not qualified to do that because I don't have none of their permits. I'm not like licensed with Dallas. I'm strictly in my Houston region. So that's the best way I can explain it. Now I'm gonna go to my insurance process strictly. Basically, when I first got started, I did my due diligence and start researching before I got into the business fully. I called the permitting place here to see what type of permits was required, and not only just permits, but also what type of insurance that's required as well. So I did all my homework before I actually got started into this business. I reached out to multiple agencies to get the best price for me and my budget. And then I gathered all my paperwork from my LLC, the VINs on my vehicles, my driver info, and I uploaded all of that, to the rideshare platforms, Uber and Lyft. And, you want to make sure you upload the right documents. It's pretty much self-explanatory once you get in the process. My insurance process was pretty quick. Like I said, when you do your homework, your research, everything happens quick and it's no mistakes. Tips for new drivers. Let me move myself back down here. I got budget for higher premiums. So on the commercial insurance side, it's not cheap. It's kind of like on the high end. So if you don't have the money and you planning on getting into this business, make sure you start putting some money back to prepare for the premiums and also to get started. Same with if you do have the money, I just want y'all to be well aware that, hey, this is not like normal insurance. So I want y'all to be well aware, that way you know what you're getting yourself into. And when something happens, you can protect yourself by having the capital ready to get whatever you need taken care of. I also got on there, start insurance process before buying vehicle. What I mean by that is, if you're looking to get into this business and you found a vehicle you like, you can either go to the dealership or go to their website and get the VIN number of that vehicle and start calling different insurance companies to get a quote. Also, I put on there, keep clean driving record. Yes, no speeding tickets, no accidents at all. Make sure you protect your record as well. And always double check names on paperwork. Always, whether it's personal and business. And this is why I'm so big on separating the two, because a lot of people get into this business, which I don't even understand how or why, but they don't have an LLC. So they doing everything under personal use. And that's where you mix up two things and it get super confusing. So please create an LLC to protect yourself and to separate personal from business. And final takeaways. I'm sharing my experience with y'all and talking about this. Let me move myself real quick because I want to make sure y'all protected at all times and making sure you have the right insurance, basically, because a lot of people get into this business and they don't have the right insurance. And when something happens, they're not protected. They're not. And then they end up having to come out of pocket. So make sure you have the right adequate coverage for whatever part of business you in inside the rideshare business to make sure you protect it at all times. Separate personal use from business. Create you an LLC before you even get started in the Uber Black business. And just want to make this very clear. I'm not an insurance agent at all. You know, this is not insurance advice. This is just me sharing my personal experience. So if you need help with anything insurance related, I recommend speaking with a licensed professional agent that's in that field. With that being said, everything I went over is inside of the Rideshare Blueprint. I created the Rideshare Blueprint because a lot of people ask questions about business, and it's basically a shortcut and rundown on the Rideshare business. And commercial insurance is inside of the Rideshare Blueprint, and I list the top 4 insurance companies that I recommend. So if y'all want access to the Rideshare Blueprint, click the link in my bio. With that being said, I'll catch y'all next video.